What is going on, everybody? You're my McLaren Speed Shop World Champion coming at you with another way to beat Sakazuki, and it's part 3. And this build is all about going second because it gives you a pretty decent advantage against Sakazuki, especially if you run majority 4 costs. And then the other reason why it's pretty good is because you can then go into a very cool combo. It's hard to get because, again, you got to get it in the opening hand, but you can then hit Ain turn 2, which would set you up to go drop Ace turn 3. So it's the going second, it's the Ain to Ace strat, and that's what this one is kind of powered by, because if you're able to hit this combo, it's pretty massive, especially dropping this guy turn 3. But if not, it's still overall good going second because you're gonna have the 4 Don, and then you're able to, if you're running multiple 4 bodies, there's just a lot more combos that we can hit going into like our regular dynamic here going second. And then you'll be able to play around with more Don. And it's good against Sakazuki because Sakazuki wants to go second so they can drop their brand new search, which is 2 Don, like on the first turn. But if you get the option and you go second, then the earliest they could drop that brand new is on their turn 2, which then limits a lot of their plays as well and makes them have to wait kind of until turn 3 to kind of get things going. But yeah, this build all about kind of going second and being able to build off in some Don combos. And yeah, hitting Ain into Ace is the major combo. But let's jump in and break things down. Alright, so your opening hand reads, if you got to choose to go second, because that's your only opportunity against Sakazuki is if you get to choose. Because if they get to, they'll always choose to go second. But basically, the setups that you want to look for is a bunch of 4-cost characters. Just at least 2, or if you are able to luckily get the combo, get like at least the Ain or Ace. If you get both, then you can do the Ace to Ain strat. If not, the regular setup is you just want at least 2 4 costs. And the cool thing also about Ain is Ain gives you the Don, so now you can kind of do another soft little thing of any kind of 4 cost with the combo of the boys there, Beppo or Ain, and then you'll still be sitting okay. But our regular duo is still the preferred option, but it does add another thing so you can push the pace early with if you don't get like Beppo, you now have Ain to look for as well for like the other strategies, which is cool. But yeah, a lot of different things for going second that you can make work, especially with the 4 costs, just because of all this. But also though too, this deck build works totally fine with the 8k strat as well, because again, 8k you're just attacking, and then your turn 3 you'll be dropping the 2. And if you're running mostly 4 costs, either that strategy if you're going first or this one works pretty good. So jumping into the game here, turn 1, nothing Sakazuki can do because they only have 1 Don, and their search is 2. So we draw, we get Ain, which is massive, and then we just have the 2. Nothing we can do, so we end our turn. Then going into Sakazuki's turn number 2, this is what to expect from them, is they have very limited options. They can throw down their brand new search this turn, which is more than likely, I feel like, the move to do regardless, just because the search cards are pretty good. But the 3 Don only leaves them with a certain amount of options and like certain things they can do, like overall. Is they'll probably, ideally, I'd assume, expect them to put their search down and then probably attack you with 6k, which again is fine because taking life like early is okay because we get the extra cards, and that helps us just be able to build on aggression in the upcoming turns. But yeah, it just kind of disrupts them, Sakazuki, completely, because they can't do just the normal setups, because if they're going second, they're built around being around all that, because again, we've gone through the first 2 parts. We know what to expect. If they go second, they have the Borsellino blocker, stuff like that. All of their like key cards, like the main ones in their deck, revolve around the 4 costs. So being able to kind of disrupt them and throw them off like their normal pace and stuff like that is just a good way to kind of get things set up and make them have to like adapt to something different versus like normally how we normally do. So back into the game here, and they are going to do the 6-on-5 attack first. So we'll take that. We get our film wall, which is nice. And then they have the 2 down left, which goes into the brand new search. So kind of the expected play. Again, if they have their search, they kind of want to use it here. This is their best opportunity. So just try to keep up with a little bit of what they draw. So they grab the Borsalino, and then they throw Rebecca in the trash. And we'll just go from there into our turn 2. So that sets up us into our turn 2, and we have a bunch of different little things we can do. You can drop the 2/4 cost, which is like the most optimal one and the one you'll probably be doing the most. And again, we just want to hit a regular combo. So drop whatever 4 cost, depending on the situation. Look at their hand. If you have the blocker law, you could go for that, or just any kind of 4 cost is pretty solid, pretty nice. And then into the boys or Beppo or even Ain potentially, if based on that kind of thing. Or you can swing high as well if you want to do that. Like turn 2, if you want to get the guaranteed life, you can do that as well. But honestly, the best one, the most consistent one for me that I've been messing around with is just drop your 4 costs, shambles out their brand new, and then bring in one of your like Don boosters, and then you'll be sitting there looking good with 2 characters on the board, moving into turn number 3. Okay, so into our turn 2 here, into the game. Checking out their cards. That was the Borsalino. We draw, and we get Ace. Massive Heart of the Cards, Yugi Moto style. And we have the 4. So honestly, let's just go for this, and we're gonna attack. And we've got Ain, 2 Ace set up, ready to go. And we'll just see what they got. So they block out, which is okay. We deploy Ain, which is gonna put us at the all-important 5 Don now. And we're just going to call it good, end our turn. And then next turn, now we get to drop Ace. Alright, so Sakazuki, turn number 3. What are they going to do? So depending on what option you went with, putting out the 2/4 cost characters will put like massive pressure on them, because they're going to have 5 Don. They can't remove both of them, because again, Rob is 4, and then the combination of their other stuff with Hound Blaze, Great Eruption, just doesn't work, because they would need two Great Eruptions and 2 Hound Blazes for to be able to get rid of that, but they only have the 5 Don, so they can't. They literally cannot get rid of both your 4 costs if you have 2 4 costs out, which is pretty nice, pretty great. It's a good feeling. However, the one exception to the golden rule of where you need to put out at least 2 characters a turn is if you're doing the Ain to Ace strat. So the reason why it's the exception is because to do Ain to Ace, you can only drop Ain, which will 100% get removed. Like no matter what they do, if they have like Hound Blaze is probably the preferred way of what they're gonna do, just because Hound Blaze is only 1, and they want to save Rob, because Rob you can get rid of 2 characters. So they will more than likely, if they have whatever, they're gonna get rid of Ain immediately. But that's fine, because again, Ain's only purpose was to give us the 1 Don and get us the Ace. So that is the only exception to the golden rule against Sakazuki, of the only time you can put 1 character down that's just like a normal 4 cost is Ain, if you're going to be able to put Ace. Because if not, the 2 4 cost characters forces their hand into needing to then use their cost removal, and it puts the pressure on them, because if they don't have it, it's basically GG's, because you have the 2 out, and then you're about to get 2 more out like the next turn, which is pretty cool and pretty great. So you just put up and set up the conditions of them needing like their good cards, and if they don't have their good cards, then it's going to make things very, very tough for them. But yeah, Sakazuki turn 3, if you've got the board pressure already established, you want them to just bring out their cards, and that way you can know what to expect later on in the game, because if they've already used certain ones, they're not going to be able to use them later on, especially if they are forced to drop Rob turn 3, because then we can get rid of Rob and then not have to worry about their cycle later on. Alright, so back into the game. Here we go. Let's see what they do. Again, expecting Ain to be gone some way or another here. And then they have 5 Don. Again, Rob is the 4 cost. Hound Blaze is 2. Great Eruption 1. So those are what you're playing around the numbers to look for, to see how they kind of put everything out. So here we go. They draw. They're playing Great Eruption, so they give the draw -2 to Ain. So there's 1 right there. And then They drop Hound Blaze. They give brand new the plus 3,000 off in a Hound Blaze, so they're going to be able to swing a couple times at us, which is, you know, not the best, but we're good card in the hand. So 7 and 5, take this one, because again, it's fine to go down to 2. We draw Otama from our life, which is actually massive, because then we can just use Otama, stay right around the 2 operating window, which is very good and very nice. And that's going to set us up now for our turn number 3. You already know what's coming. Time to throw down Ace and see how things play out. Alright, so turn 3 for us. How it's going to go, drop Ace. If you're doing the A to A strat, just bang, throw down the Ace. 7 cost. You're going to be able to minus 3,000 to 2 characters. If your opponent even has 2 characters out at this stage in the game, more than likely they probably will not. So Ace's ability is just a free Gordon, like built in. So the minus 3k to whatever you're going to be able to get out. And then you're able to use your leader ability, minus a 3, get their character out, and then bring in another 4 cost. And then you have 2 characters on the board with a 1 that's going to be 7, and then 1 that's going to be 4. This is going to put wacky pressure on Sakazuki because, again, this is turn 3 for us. It's still pretty early in the game, shifting right into like the mid game, and having a 7 cost character already puts like massive pressure on them, especially if they already used cards to get rid of the like Ain and stuff the previous turn. So now you know you've taken those cards out of the game. You drop Ace for 7, and Ace is looking pretty well protected, and potentially also your 4 costs as well, because you're putting the pressure on them to then need more cards to be able to cost reduce, and that they will have to play next turn, because their next turn they will also need like the combination and the Don management to work out to be able to lower the cost and play a character to get like your characters out. So here we go. It's time. Our turn. We're going to attack first, 5 on 5, just to see what happens. We get the life, which is pretty cool. And now it's time to throw down Ace, minus a 3. Don't really need to worry about it too much. And then bang. We're going to bring out Beppo here because we're down to 4. They're sitting at the 5, which is big for us. We get right back into the 5, into the operating range there, which is massive. Because if you're able to keep your Don in that operating, like I'd say like 5 to 7 range, then you're looking great against like anyone you're playing. You're looking very, very good, especially if you're meeting the board conditions of you having characters on the board and your opponent not having any characters on the board. So we're able to throw that out, and then we also have this is a pretty good setup, honestly, to continuously do 2 4 cost characters now for basically the rest of the game, because we'll be sitting right around 5, and going in the next turn, depending on what they do, what they play, you'll have the 5 to 7, and if you have the Gordons, Otamas, whatever, Fire Fist, Gamma Knife, whatever you're using, just being able to operate with the guaranteed way of being able to put out 2 characters is massive. And I also like this a lot too, because as someone who likes rush characters, like if you're using Rush Zoro, you then get to transition Rush Zoro into just like the late game kind of sweeper, where you can throw Rush Zoro down or Shambles Rush Zoro in and play around like with the Don cost and stuff like that. And it's very, very nice, and a lot of cool combos, because again, we still have Penguin there, and so we can play even more aggressive with just throwing down the characters. And we got a good balanced hand for me, and it's going to set up just the conditions where now Sakazuki has to be able to do things if they want to come back and sort of like get rid of Ace, get rid of Beppo, and still then need to continuously get rid of whatever characters we put out, because we're going to be putting out 2 a turn basically, so they got to be able to keep up with that. So yeah, let's jump in to a little summary, and then we'll finish this game out. Alright, so into our cheat sheet notes for the opening kind of setup again. So beginning of the game, turn 1, you just want a balance of characters, ideally the 4 costs and our normal setup. Then if you have Ain and Ace, then you can go crazy with that, because it's a great power move that makes it very, very tough for anyone to beat you if you do that. But yeah, turn 2, if you have Ain, you can set up Ain Ace strat. If not, just into the more normal stuff we've been practicing, especially with like the 8K strategy, stuff like that. drop your 4 costs, and then get rid of whatever they have. Ideally the brand new, which is pretty much like the only thing they can have. And then you bring in another 4 costs, and then turn 3, if you're doing A to ace, again, straightforward, you just drop ace. It's, again, the only exception to the golden rule is if you're doing the A to ace strat, because ace lets you -3, and you're bringing in someone else, so you'll then have the 2. And with ace being the 7 cost, is very, very nice. But if not, you're just doing the regular stuff as well. You're just going to continue the pressure. So turn 2, you got that, and then turn 3, if you can put out 2 more characters, then you're looking good. Then after that, you just got to make adjustments based on the game and what you're drawing. And again, to beat Sakazuki, you just want to overwhelm them on the board to make it so they can't remove your characters, and you just got to get them to the point where a turn where they can't remove your characters with cost removal, and then you're looking very, very good to beat them. But yeah, overall pros of the going second A to ace strat is you get to ace really quick. Again, you can drop ace turn 3 if you're able to do it. It opens up a lot of variety as well, more so than the other things. Other strats, you can, based on your hand, you can do whatever you're more comfortable with in turn 2 into turn 3, stuff like that. And then also too, yeah, again, if you get like ace out, your higher cost characters or even the 2/4 costs are going to make it a lot more difficult for Sakazuki to remove, because they need so many more resources to be able to get rid of those. The only cons, though, with doing A to ace is you have to go second. If not, like the 8k strat is also very, very strong with a deck build like this, though. The 4 cost characters are very good, and it's sort of the same thing that we practiced in the last one. But if you run a majority 4 costs, if you're going first against them, the 8k strat, part 2, very good. And then, yeah, the only other con, though, is just like the setup turn, like Ain to ace. You only can throw down Ain, and then Ain's going to get insta removed because, again, you just put out 1. So Ain will be gone. But if you're able to drop ace, then kind of a worthy sacrifice, in my opinion, because it just works out so well. But yeah, there is the part 3 little notes. So now we have 3 different strategies to be able to just build off from, start from against Sakazuki, and then ideally you just got to get the reps in, see what works for you, what you're more comfortable with. Feel free to adjust like the deck build numbers, put in whatever cards and stuff you like as well. Just it's all about whatever you want to do, what cards make you feel the most comfortable and that you have the most fun with playing around with. So yeah, part 3, bang, all 3 little notes and everything, and let's finish out this game. Alright, so here we go, and now Sakazuki, it is up to them. Turn 4, they got 7. We're looking good here. I'm feeling good with ace on the board, feeling very, very nice, because again, they have only so many limited options they can do here. Like their cost character like Borsellino, stuff like that is not likely they're going to attack us. I got a lot of stuff, so I think I don't really need Uta in this scenario right now. And they drop the Borsellino, so they drop a 7 cost as well, and then we draw another Rush Zoro, which is pretty clutch. So Borsellino, again, 8,000. We have 2 Gordos, though, and because we're operating right around the higher Don with the Ain to ace, we can then play just Film Law, get him down 6, and now I only need to drop 1 Gordo, and bang, he's at 3k now, so he's in range, and that leaves us 2 Don, which is massive, because we can then shambles out into a Rush Zoro. So we'll attack them 7 on 5. They're thonking, thinking it over. They know Borsellino's Gonzo gonna be out of here. Alright, well, they misclick and take the damage there, which is fine. And then we're attack them 6 and 5 again, because they don't know that Zoro is coming. So now they block out of that one. Okay, so they kind of redeem themselves there. So gone, and then another 6 on 5 with Zoro on Sakazuki here. And that'll end our turn. So back over to Sakazuki now. See what they can do. As we got 3 bodies on the board. We got another Zoro, so things are looking good. I can also use the boys because they're 2k counter here. And we got them down to 1 life. There's no characters on the board that they have. The only way they can beat us now is if they're able to get rid of characters and get blockers out. So they -2 to Ace with Great Eruption, which is you know, a little cause for concern. Let's see what they can do here. So Ace is not 5 cost, and ideally we'll see. Based on that move, I assume they're going to try to remove Ace and then attack Zoro. So it just depends on what they attack Zoro with. So we'll go from there. Just waiting. They got a decent amount of cards in their hand as well. That's the only other problem is based on their like stuff like that. So they're only attacking 6 and 5. So going to make the call here. Sack the boys. They're bringing in Borsellino. So get rid of Ace based on the bottom deck there. So here we go. We're operating. We got them down. They have 1. I have 2 life left. So let's just see if we can get them down to 0. So 7 on 5. So they counter onto that. And then we're going to attack again with another 7 on 5. And the 7 on 5s are massive because, yeah, you get them at 2k and they have to use another character. So just like that, we got them to 2 cards in hand. So now pretty much guaranteed for this one to hit. And now I can shambles and not have to worry about Borsellino being in. I can just bring in, we have Rush Zoro, like another one. Or we can bring in Ain to be safe here to set up for the next turn. Because if we bring in Ain will get us the extra Don and just make sure that they can't like counter out at anything. Because if we drop Zoro here, it's attacking the 5k, and you just run the number. So I'm gonna throw down Ain just to get sort of like the guaranteed like setup for multiple Don attacks. Because again, we have the rested characters, and we're gonna be just keeping around with the Rush Zoro in the pocket here for next turn. Because again, I'm setting up the conditions where they have to use blockers, and they'd have to put down minimum 2 and still attack like our characters. But based on knowing Sakazuki's deck, if they put down 2 blockers, that's 8 Don. So that is a lot of resources for them, because then they can't use the like cost removal stuff if they need to do that. So, but also too, based on the stuff we've got them like 2 trash, 2 counter with, having that is not unlikely. But yeah, 8 on 5, can't do anything about that. So let's see what they do. They got with the rest of the 10. So they throw down Mancherry. Alright. They bring back Rebecca. So it's going to be their 1 blocker there. So that gets them to 4. And then there is the Hina play. So on to Ain. They got 4. So let's see. Rob. The 4 Don. Normally is the sign of a Rob Lucci drop. So they're filter out. So there is the main man himself, Rob. So send those back. And then Ain's gone. See what they do. Assume they're going to attack Zoro here. But we have another Zoro, so we're chilling. We're looking great. Okay, they attack us for some weird reason. Alright, we get the boys. Doesn't super matter. But, oh, okay, the type misplay. GG. I mean, yeah. But it's GG either way. They don't know we have another Zoro in our hand. So, and now we have the 6 Don. So I can just deploy this Zoro. And out of respect for the misplay, we'll not use our other Zoro that's on the field. So there. We got that. Don't really need to bring anyone in, but we can just for fun. So they only have 2 cards in their hand, so we can attack just once with 6 on 5. So they do that, and then guaranteed with our leader Law here. there's nothing they can do. And yeah, we win. We get the W. Pretty big, pretty cool, pretty nice. And yeah, misplay out of them at the end there, but I don't know, we didn't use try to work it over because they've lost either way. There's nothing they could do with us on that, just because we have another rush duel. And why rush characters I love so much in Law is because it just sets up just an additional little dynamic that you're able to just throw them down and go for game, which is super nice. Because yeah, either way though, I think we would have been all right, just because of what they had. Even if we didn't have the Zoro, like Rebecca would have been gone for 3, then we're attacking them with 8, so would have been looking good regardless. But yeah, that is showing you guys like how Ain to Ace works, which is pretty fun. But again, it's super hard to do just because it's very rare to get early game both Ain and Ace, just because we have no search and like no way, you just have to get them. But besides that though, going second though in general, pretty good against Sakazuki, especially if you're running the majority 4 cost, because again, you can just make them exhaust their resources. And again, as long as you pay attention to like key cards, especially like Rob Lucci and stuff like that, bottom deck that and force them into needing to draw like multiple cards and stuff, it'd be very, very helpful. But yeah, with that though, jump into another like a quick little breakdown thing of like end game stuff and give you guys like at least my thought process of what I kind of go through, and hopefully that helps you guys understand like the sort of like progressions and stuff like that, at least from my point of view. I don't know if it'll work for you guys, but just being able to give you guys just an example, and then hopefully you can kind of solve things from there. But yeah, let me jump into that real quick and I'll explain what I mean. Alright, so how I look at the game against Sakazuki, for example, and how RP Law works, like the philosophy behind RP Law is so much different than just regular decks in this game. Because with RP Law, you don't have like the go-to like setup. Like Sakazuki, for example, what they want to do is they want to get Rob Lucci down, and then your opponent like KOs Rob Lucci, but then they get to use their other cards to recycle Rob, and they can continuously bring out Rob and hit the cost remove like the cycle there. However, with us, with RP Law, we don't have anything like set up like that. RP Law works by taking away the setups of your opponent. So by bottom decking like Rob Lucci, that already makes like a huge hole for Sakazuki, and then makes it so they then need to draw another Rob, and they can't just cycle back from like their trash like they would against their normal opponents. And why that is huge is because how I look at the game is just like the statistical probabilities of the card combinations and stuff like that. So you're only allowed to have 4 max in a deck, so that means they only have 4 Rob Luccis. And the reason why these strategies put together work is to take advantage of stuff like that and needing to force them, especially early game, because Sakazuki very, very strong mid to late game just because of their card draw and their card filtering abilities, like stuff like that. However, they're weak early game, and that's where our deck with RP Law is very strong, is early to mid game. So taking advantage of their weaknesses and stuff like that is why these 3 strategies work so well, is because you then force them to need to have Rob Lucci, which again, there's only 4 copies in the deck, and then they need another like the Great Eruption, etc., stuff like that. And why I like the strategies like this so much is because how I look at the game is playing off of that, is establishing like conditions that need to be met for them to beat you. And if they can't meet those, it doesn't matter who it is, how good of a player they are, they can't win. And that's how I look at it, is just playing off the numbers and like the math and like the breakdown, and being able to sit up and put up strategies where just statistically you're kind of favored is stuff that I'm going to take like every time. And what I mean by like establishing thing is set up your like domain, sort of like a Jujutsu Kaisen type stuff, is how I progress through the game. So I break it down normally like turns 1, 2, turns 3, 4, turns 5, 6, And at least playing RP Law, those are like what I look at. Anything past turn 6, normally not great if you're playing RP Law. Normally very, very bad if things are going that long. But those are the 3 stages. And for me, the conditions I set up normally is after turn 2, what's the board look like? Do they have any characters? If the answer is yes, if they only have 1, we're okay. If they have 0, we're looking very, very good. And then I look at the same thing, like turn 3 and 4. It's kind of the same play out, knowing if I'm going to like win or not is normally the same stuff. How many characters do I have on the board? And then how many characters do they have on the board? If they have 0, then I've met like my conditions of winning, or at least for RP Law. If they have multiple characters, things aren't looking good for me. Like it's probably not going to pull this one out. So that's how I look at kind of stuff like that. But also too, the factors you have to play in, where it sometimes doesn't matter about the characters. If you have their life down to like 1 or 0, then you can just play for game on your turn and go for it. But Sakazuki, for example, though, how I want to progress and how you want to change like the game conditions is early game, you put the pressure on them with our strategies, like the basic ones, where they need Rob Lucci, they need like Hound Blaze, they need Great Eruption, they need a way to be able to get rid of your characters. So that's like the first part of like your domain there that you're setting up, is they have to meet those conditions to be able to keep up with you. If they cannot, you're probably going to beat them. But if they can, then it kind of progresses, and then you go back and forth. Then mid to late game, things change, especially if you're able to be aggressive, and depending on like the early mid game like conditions. So if you have their life low, that then shifts into them needing to meet the next condition of being able to get blockers out. And for them to beat us, because we're also a removal deck, they need to put out 2 blockers. And depending on the situation of the board and of the game, they may not be able to meet those conditions. And that's how I look at it as well, because even if they just put out 1 blocker, normally we can remove whatever they put out. So if they only put out 1 blocker, it's gone, and then depending on our board, we got multiple attacks on them. So that's how I look at it, and just being able to go off in like the probabilities of that, especially too because of just the way the game works. And if they're burning, if you're able to be very aggressive and they're burning through stuff, like if they're using characters to counter out, changes a whole lot of things as well. Also with their counter characters, again, they only of 2Ks, they have like 8, so just kind of pay attention to that as well, because late game when you're going for the game and stuff, being able to have confidence of them needing basically the perfect setup of like 2K counters, or like being able to get out like 2 blockers is what I look forward. And if they're able to meet those conditions, then GG's, they win. Like sometimes it's just, again, this is how card games go. There's just heart of the cards, stuff like that. But if they can't meet those conditions, then they're gonna lose. So that's how I look up, and how I kind of put things together when I'm playing anybody, is going off my hand. What do I need to do to like win? Like normally it's pretty straightforward. It's just get the bodies out to attack. However, the other thing I look forward and try to establish is what does my opponent have to do to beat me? So making that, playing around like your life is also very important. So depending on how many life you have, that's a blocker. So getting hit is a blocker. So in certain games, certain situations, you don't have to worry about like removing their characters if you can take the life hits, and you want to prioritize just getting the bodies out on the board. Because late game, things kind of transition again, where they have to get blockers out. And especially if you already have the bodies on the board, if you've met all the conditions of like sort of the phase 1 and phase 2, then you then put the pressure on them of then needing the blockers. So late game, similar to the beginning of the game, is the insane pressure you're putting on. So in the beginning of the game, you put the pressure on of them needing like Rob Lucci, cost reducers and removal, stuff like that. And then late game, you're then able to put the pressure on of them then needing the blockers at the right time, or they're going to lose. So that is how I look at it, at least for me. And just setting up the conditions that my opponent has to meet to beat me. And if they're able to do that, then they win. and I'm fine. I'm fine with that because if you're able to play around it right, it's normally very, very hard for them to meet those conditions. But again, it's a card game, and you never know what can happen. Again, just harder the cards draws can bail people out a lot in this game. Same for us too. Like, we can draw Rush Zoro late game. You can draw whatever late game. So it goes both ways. But just playing often the whole thing, just like the cards in their trash, knowing their deck is also a big important thing. Playing as RP Law, like knowing your opponent's deck, what their key cards are, and then seeing what's kind of like been revealed or what they've trashed. Lets you do process of elimination to know what is left like in their deck and sort of like what their chances are. So you just kind of trying to play around that, playing around the math of all the numbers and everything, and you're just going off in that. If they get the cards and meet the conditions to beat you, then they do. And normally I'm totally fine with that because most of the time, at least for me, playing this way, it's very hard for them to meet those conditions to win. Like, no matter your opponent, it doesn't matter how good your opponent is, they only can play around what's in their hand. Like, whatever they draw, whatever they get. So if you're able to take advantage of that, and then also then break down what other chances are, what they're going to be able to do, especially late game with counters, and then just working out the attacks. But yeah, there is sort of, hopefully I explained that okay. But it's normally that's going through my head throughout the game. It transitions, and just what I'm trying to do is just set up again what my opponent has to do to beat me, and playing around like life and stuff. Especially the more life you have, the more kind of like aggressive you can be with that stuff and not having to worry about the characters on their board. Sort of like the more shots you can take at them and just go for games, stuff like that. But it's all situational. That's a sort of like a game sense thing that, especially if you're new to RP Law, you'll have to work on. You just got to put the reps in and the time in, and it'll come to you. But RP Law is, again, one of the harder decks to use, just because of there is no just easy go-to setup with RP Law. You have to play around your opponent's deck and play around what they do, and you need to take away their setup to be able to beat them. So that just takes time, because you just have to learn the other decks and stuff in the game and what their key cards are to be able to like look out for. But RP Law is super fun to play though. Like, when you're cooking with RP Law, I feel like there's not another deck that's as satisfying to use, because you're just like in flow state, just removing stuff and being able to just like swing and stuff, and it's really fun. It's really satisfying to use, more so at least for me than any other deck in the game, and that's why I like it so much. Just wish a little bit more cards, like Heart Pirate cards, and things would be great, but it's in a decent spot overall right now. But yeah, that is me yapping about endgame stuff, and we'll probably jump into one more, just a full game, show you guys just go in second and see what other stuff and how the game plays out. Alright, here we go, firing off against Sakazuki. We got ace. We're lacking unfortunately we don't have aim to hit a super nice combo here, so that's all we can do here. But the cool thing about this is going second in Sakazuki means they can't utilize their search on turn 1. So if they want to use their search, they'd have to drop it like here on turn 2. So it just kind of limits their options a little bit. So we'll see what they do. See if they drop the search, try to set up, and that'll kind of, I assume they'll attack. Alright, so they're throwing down Tashigi, and then they're attacking us with 5, which is okay. We'll take that. Don't really want Sanji. We get another one of the boys here, though, which is nice. So now it gives us a little bit of luxury here, going to a couple different things. We're going to remove Tashigi as our normal strat, but I can throw down Zoro or either Zoro's for the 3-4. We can make the audible call, but first let's attack right here. The 5-on-5. And they're only at the 5 cards because, again, it'll take advantage of them not playing brand new, like right away. And now we can put some pressure on them because clearly they're thonking whether they should invest, so they take the hit, which is fine. And now the cool thing we can do is we'll drop Otama here, and then it leaves us for our rough little 3/4 as well, which is very strong. I'm going to drop this Zoro, and then we'll minus our 3. 1, 2, 3. Get Toshigi out of here, bring in the boys, get us back to the 3, and that'll end our turn. Now they're going to be sitting at 5, so puts them in a tough spot where they can still get rid of both of these guys if they have Great Eruption and Rob. But that's like the only option here. And even if they do that, we're then able to, we have options as well. And we have Gordo, which is super, super strong here to be able to get rid of if they do drop Rob. So we can get rid of Rob. And then we can go into another 3/4 next turn. And then just kind of go from there. But again, this puts the pressure on them, just being able to audible out into them, again, needing both the Great Eruption and Rob. Like, if they don't have that combo, they can't get rid of both. And it's pretty nice, because also we put them in the bind of them not being able to use the brand new search. So they're... Alright, well, this is pretty good for us, I'd say. So they got the 2, so they're going to attack minus this down. And we're fine with taking that. We get another Gordo, which is okay. And then, yeah, Hound Blaze to get that out, which is okay with us. So now we have the 4. And now I can really push the pace here because we have all this removal. And I'm able to drop a Rush Zoro here, so I'm going to be able to attack twice and then get this out as well. And then we'll keep a Pocket Beam because we're down to the 2. So we'll keep one in the chamber. So I can attack 1 here. So 6 on 5. So they block that. I'm going to attack again 5 on 5, which is nice. And now we will throw down Zoro. Attack them again 5 on 5. Alright, we get them to burn that, which is nice. Now we'll minus our 3. 1, 2, 3. Bring in the boys. Get us up to the 4 here. And that'll end our turn. So now, see what they do. We have the Rad Beam for if they just attack one of them to keep them up. Alright. So, couldn't work out better for us, honestly. We're able to keep them up. And into the Borsalino, which is pretty nice because we're loaded on the Gordos, so this guy's out of here. Just out of here right away. 1, 2, 3. Get him out. Not gonna bring anyone in. We're just gonna, because I don't really have the options here, but we're gonna just launch the 6K barrage on them. Because again, get them to burn through any 2Ks that they may have. All right, get one there. Attack him again. Alright. So now we're looking okay, because unless they put out multiple blockers here. But again, if they exhaust the down resources, we got the Sanji to be able to block something. Alright, so there's that. But that's not a blocker. So we're kind of chilling. And unfortunately can't block out of that. So we just have the two homies here. So they do that. We had a blocker Law, which is nice. I could invest the resources to get rid of this guy for 2. And then that leaves us 3. And I can bring in the blocker Law. So let's just see what happens here. Attack 7 on 5. So we get their last one. So last one down. Well, I could go for it, because this isn't a blocker. The best I can do, I have the 2 life. And then they'd have to have minimum 2Ks. Play around that. And then they don't have a blocker this turn. So let's just go for the game. 8 on 5. And we got him. So there we go. And what's cool about the going second strat as well, even if you don't get your aim to ace setup, is we stranded their brand news in their hand. So they couldn't get the full effect with a brand new there. which is very, very nice. And also, too, again, later in the games, a lot of their character cards, like their big hitters, straight up just don't have like any counter. Like only their blockers, their Rob and stuff like that, no counter on them. So you can kind of catch them off guard, especially if you play around being able to keep the Don up. Just because of if you're able to be relentless early on, again, you're not trying to win right away. There's multiple different battles that you're playing when you face Sakazuki. Getting rid of their 2K cards is very nice. You want to keep up their aggression, because if you get them to burn these cards, that means they can't play them, use the on-play effect, and then wipe your field, you know? Because, like, Suru here is the -2, like that, and then early in the game, like the Toshigi, stuff like that. Like, being able to just focus on removing that stuff with the going second is very, very strong against these guys, just because you're just able to limit their options. Because, again, this is the third part. We know their setups. We know everything they got, what they're going to do. And going second takes away another facet. And especially if you're able to audible then. If you want to audible into the 3-4, you still can. And stuff like that. Or if you get ace, if you get to build the ace. But I'd say like you want to hit the aim to ace if you're able to do that, which is very, very strong and very cool. And yeah, there we have it. Taking out Sakazuki, going second.